Often, when we talk about microservices, we're talking about cloud native. But that isn't always the case. It's important for us to level set on what the two have in common and what they don't. Cloud native architectures are based loosely on building applications according to the 12-factor methodologies. If you aren't familiar with this concept, please take a look at my course on 12-factor application development. This course focuses on microservices and not cloud native, but often they do go together. So let's spend a few minutes and discuss this at a high level. Cloud native architectures include patterns for designing systems to run in cloud-based infrastructure. Now, cloud infrastructure is a very loose term. Often, when people hear cloud, they assume AWS or Azure, but that's only part of the story. Cloud infrastructures can be public, but they can also be private or even a hybrid. Cloud computing is a pattern of globally distributing systems to provide increased uptime, increased scalability, and increased distribution. You can build cloud systems that run in a single data center with plans on building out more globally. Or you can build systems that run in a public cloud that can further be distributed when needed. Microservices tend to fit very nicely into a cloud-native architecture because they tend to be a very smooth transition to a 12-factor application. But I do want to be clear that they are two very distinct concepts. You can build monolithic cloud-native applications, and you can build microservices that are not capable of moving to the cloud at all. I hear all too often people confusing the two patterns, and to be honest, that concerns me. We must keep the delineation clear so as not to confuse the topics, which is why I am spending this much time discussing it in this course. For all of their differences, as I've said, they do tend to go together. In my professional life, every microservice we build today is aimed at delivering to a cloud-native platform. We started our microservices journey before our cloud journey, but the two have quickly merged. Let's take a look at where they fit together. A microservice-based application is usually stored in a single code base, which is a requirement for 12-factor. A microservice often is also a completely self-contained unit, making the move to the cloud much easier. Usually, there are only a few changes with how dependencies are managed and the leveraging of backing services, both of which come naturally in a microservices model. The biggest challenge is if your microservice itself does work with the file system. These use cases usually require a migration to something like Amazon S3 or some other remote file system. Throughout the rest of this course, I will be focused solely on microservices. But as I just mentioned, in my professional life, we deploy our microservices to a cloud-native platform. I will try to share tidbits of information that will help you make this transition from VM or big iron-based microservices to a cloud-native version. But again, our primary focus is indeed the microservices themselves.